The first time I saw Karen stomping across my backyard in leopard rain boots, waving a tape measure like it was a weapon and yelling into her phone, I just knew this week was gonna be something else. I'd barely gotten home from a 12-hour ER shift, still smelling like hand sanitizer and burnt coffee, and here I was watching my garden drown in a river that seemed to start right at her property line. My daffodils looked like shipwreck survivors. My mulch floated past the grill. This wasn't a spring shower. This was suburban sabotage. And the kicker? There was a laminated sign staked into the saggy earth at the edge of my lawn, like it was some kind of war zone border, driveway drainage project, temporary inconvenience for community improvement. Yeah, right. There was nothing temporary about water lapping at my basement windows, and the only improvement I saw was Karen turning my yard into a backyard bayou. Now, Karen wasn't new to this neighborhood, but her role as the freshly crowned HOA president had brought out something, let's just say, medieval in her. She wasn't the kind of person who just followed rules. She invented them, weaponized them, laminated them. That woman could find a clause for anything. Your porch light's too bright. Karen's got a form for that. Your garden gnome's too whimsical. She'll cite you for violating aesthetic standards. She ran the HOA like it was a HOA-style takeover. So when I called the HOA office to ask, politely, why I was hosting a water feature I never ordered, I got Janet Karen's second-in-command and unofficial echo chamber. Her tone was that perfect blend of fake concern and low-grade threat. Per the updated guidelines, minor landscaping changes can be made in emergencies. I asked if minor landscaping included rerouting Noah's Ark through my begonias. She said some sacrifices were necessary for the greater good. I thanked her through clenched teeth, hung up, and realized I was on my own. The next day, it got worse. The water didn't go away, it got bolder, like it knew it was winning. My neighbor Steve walked by, shaking his head and snapping pictures like he was building a future lawsuit portfolio. Karen's telling folks you volunteered your yard for this, he said, grinning. You growing rice now, or should I send a canoe? I laughed. Sort of. Then I noticed the orange construction barrier now stretched across my lawn. With another sign, work zone, do not enter. My own land. Marked like enemy territory. So I did what any level-headed, increasingly furious adult would do: started documenting. I took photos, notes, videos. I mapped out every muddy trench, every PVC pipe pointed squarely at my house like some passive-aggressive cannon. But the final straw. Saturday morning. I was sipping my coffee, thinking maybe things would dry out, when the doorbell rang. Karen. Clipboard. Bob, her husband, trailing behind her like a guilt-ridden puppy. We'll need access to your backyard, she said, not even pretending to ask. Routine HOA inspection. Routine? I asked. Like building the Panama Canal through my flower beds. She blinked, annoyed that I dared to question her. This is about protecting property values, Greg. If you were more cooperative, we wouldn't need to escalate. Right. I asked her to give me a written request with exactly what she needed. She seemed surprised. Maybe she expected me to just roll over. But that paper. That was my green light. I closed the door, smiled, and started compiling every piece of evidence I had: photos of the trenches, timestamps from my doorbell cam, even a video of Bob adjusting their sump pump line to send water directly into my yard. Then I called my cousin Melanie, a lawyer. The good kind. The don't mess with my family kind. She didn't even hesitate. Document everything. Don't warn her. Let her keep digging her grave. So I did. I sloshed around in my boots, snapping shots of the cracked pipes, the unauthorized rebar, the work zone sign that had now fallen sideways like it knew it didn't belong. Karen waved at me from her porch like I was a toddler spilling juice on a white rug. It's all for the community, Greg, she shouted, as if volume made it noble. But then came the twist. Ted, the retired math teacher 2 doors down who hadn't made eye contact in weeks because Karen had cited him for excessive lawn decorations, came over and handed me a flash drive. "She's been on my property, too," he said quietly. "This has dates, times all of it." Turns out, I wasn't the only one. Linda, across the street, had her Halloween pumpkin cited as a seasonal hazard because they stayed up till November 3rd. Steve got a warning for non-regulation patio furniture. We were all under Karen's rule and most of us had just been too tired, too polite, or too afraid to speak up. Until now. That week, the city inspector came. Mr. Ramirez, clipboard, boots, serious face. He walked the perimeter, pointed at the trench lines, and said, "These aren't up to code. And if that pipe sending water onto your property, that's a violation. If it crosses the line, that's trespassing." Bingo. I handed him my flash drive, my logs, my photos. He said he'd file a report within 48 hours. Told me to hold tight. So I did. Karen, meanwhile, sensed the tide turning. Started yelling about community unity and slander and called an emergency HOA meeting that turned into a full-on meltdown. Half the board started backing away, fast. Janet, her lawyer deputy, sent out a very carefully worded email clarifying that construction must follow city code, which was basically a bureaucratic way of saying, "Karen, you're on your own." By the end of the week, the city sent out an official letter: all drainage work must stop. Any further trespassing would be subject to civil penalties. It was glorious. But Karen. She wasn't done. She showed up that afternoon, stomping through my yard again, this time trying to move the pipes just far enough to avoid the flags the city had staked down. I didn't say a word. Just filmed it. Sent it to Melanie. Her reply? "Perfect. She just won you the injunction." And then Bob came over. Alone. Carrying a six-pack. Looked like a man who'd aged 10 years in 10 days. Said he was sorry. Said Karen had bullied him into helping, threatened to ruin him with the HOA if he didn't dig the trenches. Said he hated the drama. I believed him mostly. Told him to stay off my lawn, keep documenting for his own protection, and maybe get himself a good night's sleep. 2 days later, the city's report landed Karen had violated multiple municipal codes, committed unlawful water diversion, and trespassed at least 4 times. HOA funds had been used without votes. Unauthorized decisions. Secret meetings. The board turned on her. Fast. She was removed as president. Officially. No more laminated signs, no more trench warfare. Just one woman on her porch, alone, tapping furiously on her phone while her husband loaded a moving truck. By the weekend, she was gone. No announcement. No apology. Just gone. That Saturday, we had a block cleanup. Everyone came. Even Ted. We planted new flowers where the pipes had cut through. Built a raised bed out of reclaimed wood from Steve's garage. Someone brought donuts. Someone else brought beer. We laughed. We talked. We remembered what it felt like to be neighbors again. And as I stood there, mud on my boots, watching Linda plant marigolds and Steve light up the grill, I realized something. Karen's reign wasn't just over. It was the beginning of something better. Something real. So here's my question for you: when the rules get twisted and power gets personal, where do you draw the line? Have you ever stood your ground against a neighborhood bully? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it.